Hello, dear Libra. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This is a deeply intuitive horoscope reading crafted especially for you. And I want to start with one question, one that your soul already knows the answer to. What if someone close to you wasn't as gentle as they seemed? Take a deep breath. Because in the next few moments, we're going to uncover truths that have been circling your intuition for weeks, even months. This isn't a surface-level reading. This is the kind of insight that changes how you see a person, a situation, and even yourself. You're not here by coincidence. The universe has led you to this exact moment because you're ready to hear what once felt too heavy to face. And I'll be honest, this won't be about fluffy affirmations or sugar-coated guidance. Libra, your balance is being tested, not by chaos but by calm faces who wear beautiful lies. Right now, two forces, two individuals are weaving a net around you. Their energy may seem opposite, one may wear charm, the other silence. But both are moving with intention. You see, sometimes the most dangerous trap isn't anger or betrayal, it's manipulation dressed in warmth. But here's the good news. You are awakening. And when a Libra wakes up, the whole universe tilts in your favor. Because you are the scales, and when you recalibrate, nothing false can hold. Let's ask ourselves something important. Have you been keeping the peace or quietly surrendering your voice to avoid conflict? Have you felt that pressure in your chest, the dreams that keep repeating, or the odd synchronicities that tug at your awareness? That's not your imagination. That's your soul ringing the alarm. You may have noticed a shift in your space too. An object that once felt sentimental now feels off. A message, a gift, or even a memory that clings with heaviness. Sometimes, the things we treasure most are tied to the very energy we need to release. And no, it's not dramatic to cleanse your space. It's spiritual maintenance. Before we dive deeper into the cards, let me say this: you don't need to fight to prove your worth. You don't need to defend your peace to those who benefit from your silence. And as the sacred wisdom whispers, no lie will last where truth is protected by light. And now, if I may, let me take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every like, every comment you leave, every time you subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, brings you closer to this spiritual family and allows me to continue sharing these messages of transformation. Your support fuels this sacred space, and for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now Libra, beloved child of Venus, I promise you this: what the universe is about to reveal will shake you and strengthen you all at once. So stay with me until the very end of today's reading. Drop the sacred number 7 in the comments if something within you feels like it's already shifting. I see you. I honor your courage. Let's step into the truth together. Sometimes, the most profound transformations happen not with thunder or drama, but in the quiet unraveling of illusions. As you take your first steps beyond the opening message, there's something stirring beneath the surface of your daily life, something you may not have had words for, but you've certainly felt. This part of your journey isn't about dramatic endings or explosive revelations. It's about gentle but steady awakenings, moments when you begin to see that what once looked like love may have been control, that what you called peace was really your silence, and that what you cherished might have been a chain dressed as a ribbon. For Libra, a sign ruled by Venus and devoted to harmony, fairness, and beauty, this type of shift can feel especially unsettling. You are deeply attuned to the balance between others' needs and your own, and your soul naturally leans toward diplomacy. But now, the scales are tipping. Not because you're failing, but because you're finally noticing that something has been quietly weighing you down. It might be subtle, like the tone in someone's voice that always makes you second-guess your worth, or the unspoken expectation that you'll stay quiet to keep the peace. Or it could be physical, a letter you keep rereading, a gift you never moved, an item infused with memories that no longer feel like yours. These things are not always sinister. In fact, that's what makes them so complex. They come wrapped in affection, nostalgia, and obligation. And that's exactly how emotional manipulation hides itself, behind kindness, behind need, behind what appears to be beauty. Two people in your life may be doing just that, pulling at your empathy, your history, your sense of fairness, not to love you, but to keep you accessible, soft, and hesitant. One may be outwardly helpful, the other emotionally vulnerable. Yet their combined effect creates a distortion, making you question what's real and who you are allowed to become. Now, I invite you to pause and breathe. Because this moment, right here, is sacred in its own way. It's when your spirit begins to choose truth over comfort. There is no virtue in sacrificing your inner clarity just to keep someone else from feeling uncomfortable. If they are meant to walk beside you, they will honor your clarity, not punish it. And if they retreat because you've stopped bending, then they were never standing with you, they were leaning on you. There's a quiet wisdom that says, sometimes, the most loving thing we can do is walk away. Not in anger, but in alignment. Not to hurt, but to heal. And that doesn't make you cruel. It makes you free. You don't owe peace to anyone who thrives on your suppression. Harmony must flow in both directions to be real. If it only exists when you stay quiet, that is not balance. That's bondage. Somewhere nearby, perhaps closer than you think, there is someone younger watching how you navigate this. They may not say it aloud. They may not even understand fully. But they feel it. They sense whether you are being true to yourself or simply maintaining the illusion. You are a living example to them, not of perfection, but of integrity. Your choices now become the foundation for someone else's idea of courage later. And if you need one quiet reminder from the higher order of things, it is this: you were not created to live small, scared, or unseen. There is nothing selfish about protecting your light. Let grace guide your decisions, not guilt. Let discernment speak louder than pity. What you release with love will never chain you again. Stay close, Libra. Because what comes next will ask more of you, but it will give you so much more in return. It often begins with a soft compromise, one you make in the name of peace, in the name of understanding, in the name of love. At first, it seems harmless. You choose not to speak up when something doesn't sit right. You convince yourself it's not the right moment, or that maybe your truth would disrupt something fragile. But then it happens again. And again. And before you know it, you've become the keeper of someone else's comfort at the cost of your own clarity. Libra, this part of the journey calls you to recognize when peace becomes a performance. When the appearance of balance begins to weigh more than the truth that could set you free. The reverse justice card doesn't accuse you of wrongdoing, it gently reveals where fairness has been redirected outward, while your own voice has been tucked away. Coupled with the Two of Swords, we see a clear emotional standstill. Not because you don't know what you feel, but because you've been asked to ignore it for the sake of someone else's version of keeping things calm. There is someone in your space right now, perhaps two individuals who are masters of reason. They know how to frame their intentions, how to use logic or passive kindness to dilute the strength of your boundaries. Their influence isn't overtly harmful. In fact, it's precisely their subtlety that makes it hard to pinpoint. They speak in careful tones, they lean on shared history, they may even appeal to your compassion. But their goal is control masked as cooperation. And this is where your growth begins. Because real balance, the kind that nourishes rather than depletes, doesn't require you to sacrifice your needs in silence. It asks for mutual respect. It asks that your voice be part of the dialogue, not edited out of it. There is no divine commandment that says you must destroy your own alignment in order to maintain someone else's illusion of harmony. In fact, quiet wisdom often reminds us that love rooted in fear is not love, it's a contract. And you, Libra, were never meant to sign contracts written in self-erasure. This is where the sacred power of the number 2 comes into play. In numerology, it symbolizes duality but also union, intuition, and choice. It teaches that harmony is not the absence of opposition, but the conscious weaving together of truth and empathy. When you are at a crossroads, like now, this number reminds you, you don't have to pick a side between compassion and honesty. You can choose both. And you must start by being honest with yourself. That deep ocean blue I see around your energy now is no accident. It's a frequency that asks for stillness without submission. It holds strength in softness. Think of it as the color of steady waters, not frozen, not storming, but grounded. It's the space where your thoughts can settle into wisdom. Use that energy when you feel pulled in too many directions. Breathe into it. Let it anchor you. In the most gentle of ways, let me remind you your voice matters. Your boundaries matter. And your decision to speak, even if it trembles, is more courageous than silence masked as grace. Don't wait for the perfect moment to stand in your truth. Sometimes the moment you choose becomes the perfect one. And while those around you may not understand your shift at first, that doesn't make it wrong. Remember, the light doesn't ask permission before it rises. It just does. So let your truth be your sunrise today. The right people will adjust their gaze to meet your light. The rest were never truly looking. It's interesting how certain things, small, seemingly innocent things, begin to carry weight we never meant to give them. A delicate piece of jewelry, a handwritten card, a photo with edges softened by time, these objects often arrive wrapped in meaning, beauty, or memory. For someone like you, Libra, whose heart is shaped by aesthetics and significance, those tokens become emotional anchors. But what happens when something that once brought comfort starts to make you feel unsettled? Not in an obvious way, but subtly, like mental fog, sudden fatigue, or a sense of heaviness you can't quite explain. That's not just nostalgia fading. That's your intuition nudging you toward release. When the High Priestess appears reversed alongside the Seven of Cups, it's a powerful call to notice what's clouding your inner clarity. This isn't about the outer world, Anna Marie, it's about your private, sacred space. Libra, your ruling planet Venus teaches you to value beauty, but it also calls for discernment. Not all that glitters carries grace. And sometimes, what you keep close for sentimental reasons becomes a vessel of stagnation, holding emotions that no longer serve your path. Right now, your energy is going through a quiet clearing. The universe is inviting you to take inventory of what you've allowed to remain in your physical and emotional space. Perhaps you've held on to a keepsake from someone who no longer supports your growth. Perhaps there's a letter that once gave you hope, but now only reminds you of what could have been. These items might still look beautiful, but their frequency no longer aligns with who you're becoming. And deep down, you've already felt it. This is where the law of attraction gently steps in with wisdom. Nothing new can take root in a space occupied by the weight of the past. In other words, emotional and energetic clutter quietly blocks the blessings meant for you. This is why the act of cleansing is so much more than a spiritual ritual. It's a declaration of readiness. When you let go of objects that carry old energy, you create space for experiences that match your current vibration, your next chapter. In numerology, we turn to the number 7 here. It's a number tied to intuition, mystery, and the quiet voice of inner truth. It asks you to pause, not to analyze, but to feel. When you touch that item, does your body soften or tense? Do you feel peace, or do you feel unsure? Often, your body knows before your mind is willing to admit the truth. And there's wisdom in that. We're taught to be loyal, to cherish gifts, to never throw away a memory, but remember, memories live within you, not in the things you keep. You are allowed to release what no longer reflects your joy or safety. And if you ever wonder whether it's selfish to let go of something that once meant so much, remember the quiet teachings passed down for generations. Growth is not betrayal. It's renewal. It's okay to honor what something was, and still choose to move beyond it. That's not rejection. That's reverence with boundaries. Soft shades like ivory white and blush pink are working around you now. These colors aren't loud, they don't need to be. They're here to gently cleanse, to soothe, and to help you let go with compassion. Let them be part of your environment as you take this step, whether that means placing the object in moonlight, immersing it in salt water, or simply saying a quiet goodbye. You're not being dramatic. You're being discerning. You're not discarding the past. You're opening the door for a future that deserves all of you, not the version still carrying what no longer fits. And that, dear Libra, is grace in motion. It's strange how peace can sometimes feel like a weight instead of a relief. When the King of Cups appears reversed beside the Three of Pentacles reversed, it signals a very specific kind of imbalance, one that doesn't scream or demand attention, but whispers in tones of guilt, emotional obligation, and quiet manipulation. Libra, you've always been the diplomat, the gentle voice in the room, the one who smooths over tension with a smile and makes fairness look effortless. But this time, the scales have been tipping slowly, quietly, until suddenly you realize you've been standing still just to keep someone else from falling apart. This part of your journey asks for a new kind of fairness, the kind you give to yourself first. There may be someone from your past, or even someone still in your life, who has learned to appeal to your softness rather than your strength. They may not be cruel in an obvious way. In fact, that's what makes their presence so confusing. They wrap their needs in wounded language, speak of second chances, or offer apologies laced with, "But you have to understand," and because your heart leans toward compassion, you hesitate. But here's the truth: real compassion never asks you to erase yourself to keep someone else comfortable. What's happening here is not about revenge or rejection, it's about alignment. When you are constantly asked to tolerate more than what is healthy, when your forgiveness becomes a pass for repeated patterns, you begin to chip away at your own sense of justice. And for someone born under Libra, justice is not just a concept, it's a core truth. You're not being unfair by saying no. You're not being cold by setting boundaries. You're being honest about what your energy can no longer carry. Number 6 in numerology speaks to love, responsibility, and harmony, but not harmony at the expense of the soul. It teaches that love without boundaries becomes sacrifice. And when sacrifice is unspoken and one-sided, it breeds resentment. That's not noble. That's unsustainable. True love includes accountability. It doesn't fear discomfort, it invites growth through truth. You're being called to love in a way that uplifts both sides, not drains one to feed the other. There's also a tendency, especially for Libra, to want to be fair to the end. To make sure no one leaves a conversation feeling judged or hurt. But when fairness becomes a tool for someone to stay unaccountable, it's no longer fairness, it's submission. And that's not your role. You are not here to manage the emotions of someone unwilling to manage their own actions. Even the most gentle hearts must learn the power of the word enough. Think of the olive green and silver tones as the protective layers around your mind and emotional center now. They don't scream for attention, they simply fortify. Olive green grounds you in calm logic, while silver reflects manipulation back to its source. Surround yourself with these energies when the words sound kind but the feeling underneath tells you something's off. You are not overreacting. You are observing clearly. And if you ever wonder whether you're being too harsh by walking away from those who keep taking, remember this: even the most loving shepherd knows when to stop chasing the sheep that runs toward the cliff. There is wisdom in turning away from what asks you to betray your peace just to preserve someone else's ego. Your kindness is sacred, Libra, but it is not infinite. It deserves to be protected, not exploited. The people meant to walk beside you will never ask you to carry what breaks your spirit. Let the rest fall away gently. There is no guilt in protecting the life you're trying to build. That isn't selfishness, it's self-respect. Not everything that's delayed is a punishment. Sometimes, the universe gently places a pause in front of you, not to block your blessings, but to help you realign with your worth before those blessings arrive. In this moment, Libra, the cards speak clearly. Something about your sense of value has been out of step with the opportunities you're trying to attract. The reversed Five of Pentacles and the Page of Swords don't warn of loss. They whisper of a readiness that must come from within before the external world can mirror it. You may be experiencing a stall in your finances, your career direction, or the recognition you quietly crave for your efforts. It might feel like you're knocking, but no doors are opening. And yet, you're still showing up, still hopeful, still searching. But here's the truth: it's not about the effort you're making outwardly, it's about the inner belief that may have been shaken somewhere along the way. Maybe someone planted a seed of doubt in you intentionally or not. Maybe they told you to be more grateful, to stop wanting too much, or that your dreams were too delicate for the real world. And even though you've grown beyond those voices, their echoes still linger in the corners of your confidence. This part of your reading isn't about strategies or hustle, it's about reclaiming the quiet voice within you that says, "I am enough, even when no one sees it." Because the truth is, your value doesn't live in paychecks, praise, or promotions. It lives in your presence. It lives in your ideas, in how you treat others, in how you rise after being overlooked. You don't need anyone's approval to deserve abundance. But you do need your own permission to receive it. The energy of the number 4 supports you here. In numerology, 4 is the number of structure, stability, and sustainable foundations. It teaches us that lasting wealth, material and emotional, cannot be built on shaky self-worth. You're not meant to chase validation or compete for limited space. You're here to claim your place by anchoring into who you are when no one else is clapping. This isn't about proving you deserve more. It's about knowing you already do. Libra, you have a natural tendency to consider every side, to evaluate yourself through the reflections others give you. But right now, the reflection you need most is the one that comes from stillness, not from comparison. Your thoughts are sharp, your insights are valuable, and your voice matters. The Page of Swords brings you curiosity, a mental awakening, a desire to learn and speak your truth. Don't let that be dimmed by past criticism. Use it. Let it guide you back to your center. And as you walk through this chapter, let the color of champagne gold hold you. It's not loud. It doesn't need to be. It represents quiet authority, refined strength, and soft power, the very essence of Libra when aligned. Wear it, visualize it, surround your workspace with it if needed. Let it remind you that wealth doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it whispers with elegance. Remember, you were never asked to shrink in order to fit in. And no divine wisdom ever told us we must settle to be spiritual, or accept less to be grateful. Wanting more when it comes from a place of purpose, not greed. It's vision. Give yourself permission to dream a bigger life, not because you're unsatisfied, but because you're finally learning what you're worth. And Libra, that's a truth no delay can deny. There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when maintaining the illusion of peace is no longer enough. Not because you've become harsh, but because you've grown honest. Libra, you have always been the harmonizer, the one who could read the emotional atmosphere of any room and respond with grace. You've known how to make people feel safe, how to offer kindness even when you yourself were in need. But what's shifting now is something deeper. You're no longer seeking peace as the absence of conflict. You're seeking truth as the foundation for something more enduring, something real. The Empress and Judgment together form a sacred mirror. They reflect a version of you that has bloomed through trials and still carries softness without sacrificing discernment. You are not just someone who nurtures others, you are someone who calls forth what has long been silent. Your wisdom doesn't come from always having the answers. It comes from how you've stayed open while navigating questions most people avoid. And now, without even trying, you've become a quiet lighthouse. Someone younger, or perhaps someone spiritually less experienced, is watching you. Not your highlight reel, but your unfiltered decisions. The way you choose honesty over approval. The way you remain calm in the face of emotional noise. The way you walk away without slamming the door. This influence you hold is not performative. It's energetic. It's not about preaching. It's about being. And in this phase of your growth, you are releasing the old role of pleaser, the one who balanced everyone's needs at the expense of your own, and stepping into the archetype of the awakener. Not the loud kind. Not the one who disrupts for the sake of drama. But the kind who gently breaks patterns by refusing to play along. There is power in that kind of presence, a sacred power that doesn't need to justify itself. It simply exists and invites others to rise with it. The number 9 guides this part of your path. It's the number of completion, of wisdom gained through lived experience. It signals that a cycle is closing not with bitterness, but with blessing. You've outgrown something. Not because it failed you, but because you're finally aligned with who you've become. And this is where grace enters, not the passive kind, but the active grace that says thank you and goodbye in the same breath. That honors what was while standing fully in what is now needed. If you haven't yet, try writing a letter to your past self. Not the version of you who got everything right, but the one who kept trying anyway. The version who stayed when they could have run. The one who forgave too much, held too tightly, or shrank so others could feel bigger. Write to that version with love, not shame. Then thank them. And let them go. That letter doesn't need to be sent, but it deserves to be heard by you. The energy around you now hums in soft rose and golden hues. It's the palette of empowerment through compassion. It's the warmth of a sunrise that doesn't demand attention, yet changes everything it touches. Let these colors remind you that you don't need to be loud to be influential. You don't need to carry others to lead them. And you don't need to fix everyone to be an example. There's a quiet truth often echoed in sacred teachings. The most powerful transformations begin when we choose integrity over image, clarity over compliance. You're not leaving behind who you were, you're re-honoring them by stepping into who you were always meant to be. And whether or not anyone claps, the soul watching you most closely, the younger one, the student, or the mirror within us already learning to walk with their spine a little straighter because of you. And now, gentle soul, if you've made it this far, take a breath and truly feel the space you've opened within yourself. This wasn't just a horoscope. It was a quiet unveiling of truth, of permission, of power that had been waiting patiently behind layers of politeness and expectation. Libra, you didn't come here to keep everyone comfortable. You came here to evolve, and in doing so, inspire evolution in others. You were never meant to live in the middle of everyone else's conflict, forever balancing what was never yours to carry. You are the scale, but today, for once, you let it tilt in your own favor. And that is not selfish. That is sacred. The universe isn't asking you to become someone you're not. It's asking you to return to who you've always been underneath the noise. The gentle clarity. The fierce kindness. The quiet refusal to play small. You're learning that peace doesn't mean silence and balance doesn't mean you have to bend. And the people who truly see you, who resonate with your energy, won't ask you to disappear to keep the harmony. They'll celebrate the moment you step into your light. So as you step away from this message and return to your day, I ask you to pause and ask yourself, what have I been keeping around that no longer honors who I'm becoming? Is it a relationship, a habit, a belief, a memory? What would happen if I released it, not with bitterness but with gratitude and grace? And who might I become if I stopped waiting for permission to be fully, unapologetically myself? These are not easy questions. But they are honest ones. And honesty, Libra, is where your healing begins. Take what you've learned here and don't just think about it, treat it. Maybe tonight, you light a candle for yourself. Maybe you write a letter you never send. Maybe you remove something from your space that no longer feels right. Or maybe, you simply choose to say no the next time your soul whispers it. Whatever step you take, know that it matters. Because every small act of truth you live makes it safer for someone else to do the same. And if this message stirred something inside you, if your heart beat a little faster, if your mind paused at just the right sentence, then don't keep it to yourself. You're not alone on this path. There are others, just like you, quietly waking up, quietly letting go, quietly becoming. Share this video with someone who might need it. You never know how one gentle truth can ripple out and bring someone else home to themselves. And I want to take a moment now to thank you. Truly. From the heart. For your presence, for your openness, for allowing this space Zodiac Whisper Tarot be part of your healing and clarity. Every like, every comment, every subscription you leave here breathes life into this sacred corner of the internet. And it reminds me why this work matters. You matter. So if this reading resonated, please don't leave without pressing that like button, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the bell so the universe can whisper to you through future messages exactly when you need it most. And now, I ask you bravely, honestly, are you ready to stop holding the peace and start living the truth? If the answer is yes, drop it in the comments. I choose balance rooted in truth. Because when you speak that intention aloud, you don't just set yourself free. You give permission for others to do the same. Until next time, Libra. Stay clear, stay kind, and never forget, you are not here by accident. You are here to remember who you are. And when you remember, the world around you starts to remember too.